And a good morning to you. It is a Monday edition of Wake Up Wenatchee Valley here on the NCW Life channel. No, I'm not Dan Kuntz. I'm Eric Grandstrom, filling in for Dan this week as he's on vacation with a big family reunion for the Kuntz family over on the west side. And I hope they have a great time. I think they said Lopez Island. I think that's where they said that it was going to be. I had a chance, in fact, to bob around on the salty water of the Puget Sound over the weekend. I had a good time getting some crab over the weekend. Saw Mom and Dad. Got a chance to see Marion's mother, my mother-in-law. And hope you had a good weekend, too. But it seems that you try to cram all that into a short amount of time, and weekend's over, just like that. And it's back to work. And it's Monday. And here we go. It's happening whether we're ready for it or not. We'll get you the latest local news coming up here in just a few moments on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. A check of your forecast on the way. Sports news. Edgar Martinez is now officially in the Hall of Fame with the Seattle Mariners and Major League Baseball. Also, Mike Magnotti with his opinion. And coming up the second half of the show, before Dan went on vacation, he had a chance to visit with Russ Speidel and Mary Ellen LaMond. They are on the yes on Proposition 1, the levy for improvements for Link Transit. So that'll be in the last portion of the program here this morning. But before we get to all of that, let's take a look at what's happening around the valley this morning with our Valley View cameras. And thanks to the folks at Sky-Fi Wireless Network through Locatel for providing us this gorgeous look down upon the Wenatchee Valley this morning with sunny skies, just a few hint of clouds here and there, and not much wind to speak of either. You can see the Columbia River there, pretty much glassy, little ripple here and there at the confluence of Wenatchee River, but gorgeous morning and looking at a very hot week weather-wise. As we look at camera 2 this morning, we will go to the Monument Valley, and this is up above Quincy, looking down on the Quincy Plateau. I like that rustic-looking little cabin. It's not a cabin, it's a shed. And if you get a close look at it, it's completely riddled with bullet holes. But when it's back at this camera view, it kind of has that rustic feel to it here as we look down upon the Quincy Valley. Good morning, Quincy. We'll talk about Quincy's roundabout coming up in our news in just a little bit. That's camera 2. Camera 3 this morning, provided by Sky-Fi Wireless Network, is looking down upon the sleepy little ville of Cashmere and the Wenatchee River as it snakes through the town of Cashmere and Highway 2 there. This is from our camera up on the hillside, the Apolani camera, as you say hello to Cashmere and Dryden Peshastin up to the right, and further way up there is the Enchantments, and not much snow left on the top of the Enchantments. Summer is definitely here. All right, so camera 4, where are we going this time here? Megan McPherson behind the buttons here again this morning on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. There we go. Looking back towards Wenatchee from the Orondo area, that's Turtle Rock, kind of center left of your screen, and it does look like a turtle. That's why they call it Turtle Rock. You can see Mission Ridge up in the higher climbs there on that hilltop in the distance, and yeah, it looks like all the snow is pretty much gone from Mission Ridge. Maybe that's why the winds have finally decided to die down. We will get winds in our forecast coming up on Wednesday. More on that in just a moment. Thanks to Sky-Fi Wireless Network for a look at the Valley View cameras this morning. All right, weather forecast here for north central Washington and the Wenatchee Valley today. Looking at sunny skies again. 94 our expected high today, so yeah, hot. Officially yesterday we got up to 88. 44 was the overnight low. That was earlier this morning. A record high temperature for today, 107 degrees set in 1994. 49 the record low in 1982. Normally we're at 89 for the high and 63 for the low. So the next couple of days a little bit higher than normal. Sunrise this morning, by the way, was at 5:27. Sun will set tonight at 8:47 p.m. That is about a minute less of daylight per day on the average as we are past the summer solstice. But I'll tell you what, summertime weather is here. Hot temperatures for the next few days. 94 for our high tomorrow with sunny skies. 66 for the overnight low. According to the National Weather Service, they're saying that there could be, with this hot weather, by tomorrow anyway, higher elevations could see some thunderstorm activity. Cold front passage will moderate temperatures back to near normal on Wednesday, but bring with it breezy winds. Dry and seasonably warm conditions are expected by the end of the work week. So there you go. We might have a few clouds come in tonight with a little chance of some sprinkles And then we'll get breezy conditions on Wednesday, a little bit cooler, and then warm back up again by Thursday and Friday. But the weekend ahead, Saturday, Sunday, oh, gorgeous. 88 for the high, 60s for the low. Yeah, I'll take that any day of the week. We're at 64 as we start off this Monday here on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. Just a couple of traffic notes, too, as you head out and about today. US 2 near Peshastin today and tomorrow. Expect some delays with flagger-controlled traffic. They are doing some maintenance on the shoulder in that area of some washout spots. That'll be from 8 in the morning until 3:30 in the afternoon, both today and tomorrow. Also, as far as road crews doing some work, you've got Chelan County crews doing some chip seal work in Cashmere on Ruby and Larson Streets. Also, they're continuing the chip seal work up in the Lake Wenatchee area on the North Shore Drive and White River Road. You can also see some crews working tomorrow in the Manson area on some shoulder work there. So give them a break in those construction zones and keep your eyes open and looking for the guys that are out there and the gals that are doing our work on the roadways. Coming up, we still have latest local news here on the NCW Live channel. Sports news coming up as well. We'll get you up to date on what's happening with the Wenatchee Apple Sox as they get ready for the All-Star break straight ahead. And, of course, later on this morning here on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley, Dan had a chance to sit down with some folks who are in favor of Proposition 1 for Link Transit. Russ, Speidel, and Mary Ellen LaMond will join us in this last half of the program here on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. This portion of the program is sponsored by Confluence Health, dedicated to providing you with safe, quality health care for everyone in North Central Washington. Local news next. Stay right there on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley.
When the people you serve are your friends and family, you see the world a bit differently. You understand that your survival depends on the health and strength of your relationships. Your word is your reputation, and that doing the right thing is the only way of life that matters. At Confluence Health, we remain humble. Trust is a gift that is earned, a privilege, an honor. And we remain grateful for the trust you place in our hands.
Hi, I'm Jim Heinlein, agent here at Senior Insurances of North Central Washington, where we help our clients navigate the Medicare world. One of the things we really enjoy doing is teaching our clients about their rights. Like, did you know that if you have a traditional Medicare supplement, you can change that monthly all year long, regardless of prior health conditions? So if you'd like to know more about your options with Medicare, you can visit us at one of our 5 local offices, as well as give us a call at 888-2600.
8 minutes past the hour here on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley, 64 degrees and sunshine for a back-to-work Monday. Filling in for Dan Kuntz, I'm Eric Granstrom with your latest local news. Police are investigating the deaths of 2 bodies that were discovered in a home in Wenatchee early yesterday evening. Wenatchee police say the bodies were found at a home in the 600 block of Highland Drive. Police responded to the home around 5:30 yesterday afternoon after receiving a report of a cardiac incident. Detective Brian Chance says the deaths are under investigation, but there is no threat to the public. The names of the deceased are being withheld until family members can be notified. A Cashmere man was declared dead at the scene following a traffic accident on Stein Hill Road Saturday afternoon. Andy Zimmerman with the Chelan County Sheriff's Office says it happened around 3:40 p.m. He reports the car driven by 29-year-old Jose Arroyo went off the road and collided with a rock embankment. Zimmerman says the driver was going too fast and failed to negotiate a curve. There were no passengers. The roadway was blocked for about 3 hours during that investigation. Chelan and Douglas County voters may be asked in the next couple of years to approve a sales tax to pay for future improvements at Pangbourne Memorial Airport. The recently created Chelan-Douglas Regional Port Authority is considering a 0.1% sales tax that would generate about $3 million a year in revenue for future capital projects. NCW Life Channel senior news correspondent Steve Hare has more on this story.
Well, the idea of a sales tax surfaced last year, prior to the functional consolidation of the 2 port districts. Now, at that time, it was projected that over the next 10 years, about $60 million in airport upgrades would be needed. Port Executive Director Jim Kuntz.
The airport has a host of things on their list that need to be done. The taxiway, the full-length taxiway, needs to be completely rebuilt. The aviation ramp in front of our airport terminal building is asphalt and is very much need of a complete repair. And then the airport terminal building, as we get service to San Francisco and other areas that we're optimistic about, the airport terminal building at some point in time is going to need to be expanded.
The consolidation of the two ports is expected to save about $500,000 a year in costs. But Kuntz said the current revenue stream generated from the airport's operations alone falls far short of future expansion needs, even with FAA matching grant money. The plan would require legislative authority before going to the voters with a ballot proposal for a sales tax.
So the Port Commissioners have said, let's at least take step one. Can we go to the legislature this next session and simply ask for the authority to put on a ballot at some future date a 0.1% sales tax to support either Pangbourne and or airports within the Chelan-Douglas County area. So that's what the commissioners have authorized, and it's a very first step in a long, long process.
Kuntz plans to begin the legislative lobbying process immediately by meeting with 12th District lawmakers to discuss the proposal. Steve Hare, NCW Life News.
Thank you, Steve. News continues at 12 minutes past the hour here on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. Well, you're still able to get from point A to point B in Quincy, but you'll have to do it in a roundabout way, literally. The town unveiled its new traffic roundabout over the weekend. It replaces the old four-way stop at Highway 28th and 13th Avenue. The $1.7 million project was completed after several weeks of work by the Washington State Department of Transportation. State and city officials claim the roundabouts will streamline traffic flows better than a traffic signal. They say research shows that they drastically reduce the chances of collisions. Well, a new Facebook page has been created for Wenatchee residents to voice their rants or raves from the valley. The Wenatchee Valley Rants and Raves page was created after many people voiced their personal frustrations on the Wenatchee Valley Crimes and Events page about a multitude of topics such as roundabouts and housing expenses. The new group already has over 1,000 members, along with 70 posts from community members in just 2 days since it was created. Administrator of both the Rants and Raves and Crimes and Events page, Nathan Medeiros, tells NCW Life how the page has been so successful in such a short amount of time.
And surprisingly, it's been a pretty good thing. People have been not just saying like the most worst and disgusting things like you normally see on like the Craigslist rants and raves, but people are like actually talking about issues and problems in the valley and like having discussions on it.
And by the way, Medeiros is also currently running for a director position in the Eastmont School Board. A dramatic change being implemented in Washington will soon make a lot more workers eligible for overtime pay. The State Department of Labor and Industries began a series of public hearings on the changes last week. What the new rules do is change the conditions under which employers can designate someone as an exempt or salaried employee. Requiring them to be paid by the hour will affect hundreds of thousands of workers in the state. The change drew mostly support at a hearing Tuesday in Seattle. It was the second of 4 hearings in Western Washington, with Eastern Washington meetings scheduled August 5th through the 7th in Ellensburg, Kennewick, and Spokane. Now, under current law, employees making more than $23,660 a year can be classified as exempt and not hourly. In July 2020, that would change to $35,100, rising each year until 2026, when no employees making less than $80,000 could be declared exempt. The Obama administration attempted to raise the federal hourly threshold to $47,476, but a judge in 2016 blocked that change. Well, in what is considered a make-or-break moment for the presidential aspirations, Washington Governor Jay Inslee will take to the stage July 31st for his second Democratic debate. Inslee will appear on the second night of debate, sharing the stage with 9 other candidates, including 2 frontrunners, former Vice President Joe Biden and California Senator Kamala Harris. It will be the last time on the debate stage for Inslee. To qualify for the fall debate, he will need to receive at least 2% support in 4 national polls and 130,000 unique donors to his campaign. Inslee has struggled to reach 1% support in most polls. The other 10 qualifiers for the July debates will take the stage on July 20th. That's your latest local news here on the NCW Life Channel. Be sure and tune in tonight for the news with Grant Olson and our evening newscast at 5, 6, and 10 o'clock. You can stay up to date on what's happening on our Facebook page, also through our website at ncwlife.com. And if you see anything breaking here news-wise in the Wenatchee Valley and you'd like to share it with us, you can do so on our tip line at 888-NCWL. That's 888-6295. You can also reach out to us directly at news@ncwlife.com on the email, or you can send us a message through our Facebook page. Again, evening news with Grant Olson coming up at 5, 6, and 10 o'clock tonight here on the NCW Life Channel. 16 minutes past the hour of on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. That's what I'm trying to say. Feels like Groundhog Day for some reason, like we've done this all over again or before or something like that. We'll take a break and come back. Sports news coming up. Also, we'll look at today's obscure holiday, a chance to relax a little bit. We'll get the This Day in History, celebrity birthdays, Mike McNaughty with his opinion, and the last half of the show will be an interview Dan did last week with Russ Speidel and Mary Ellen LaMond about the Proposition 1. They're on the yes side of it, so we'll hear why they're on the yes side of it for the Link Transit improvements. That's coming up as well here on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. Thanks for joining us. Stay right there. We'll be right back.
I told Mr. Nielsen about Simon. He's the best doctor because I like the medicines like he gives me.
He asks like more questions, and that's why I feel like he's more interested in the health. For me, it means a lot. That means he really cares about, about him.
I like you, Simon, and you're my best friend.
Choose the pros, Alignment Pros. When your vehicle needs brakes, shocks, struts, or alignment, choose the experts in their field. Alignment Pros and Express Lube with a 5-star rating. The work they perform on your vehicle is as impeccable as their shop. With state-of-the-art equipment, Alignment Pros can handle all large or small vehicles, specialty cars, lifted or lowered. Alignment Pros does them all. Keep your car in top shape at Alignment Pros and Express Lube in East Wenatchee.
Beautiful sunshine, 64 degrees in the Wenatchee Valley as we get you through a back-to-work Monday, this 22nd of July, 2019. Eric Granstrom filling in for Dan Kuntz on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. We're at 18 minutes past the hour. Let's see what's happening in the world of sports. The Wenatchee Apple Sox had their 7-game winning streak snapped in Bellingham on Friday as they fell by a final of 7-5. Then they lost again on Saturday by a final of 4-2. So they were hoping for better things to happen on Sunday, and that was the case, as we hear from the voice of the Apple Sox, Joel Norman.
The Wenatchee Apple Sox wrapped up their series with the Bellingham Bells with a 5-2 victory on Sunday afternoon at Joe Martin Field in Bellingham. Though the Apple Sox lost the first 2 games of the weekend set in Bellingham, they did take the series finale and overall take the season series 4-2. It was tied up 2-2 going into the 7th inning, and Cody Colden delivered a go-ahead RBI single that would prove to be the game-winning hit. In the 9th inning, Ryan Altenberger added a 2-run homer. Altenberger will actually represent the Apple Sox in Monday night's Home Run Derby in Bend, Oregon. It's the all-star break for the bulk of the Apple Sox players. However, Altenberger, Cole McKenzie, Jake Somm, as well as Sam Wyatt will all be traveling down to Bend to represent the Apple Sox on Tuesday night. The Sox play again on Wednesday against the Walla Walla Sweets. With your Apple Sox update, I'm Joel Norman.
Thank you much, Joel. By the way, Altenberger's home run on Sunday, his 3rd of the season. Cody Colden went 2 for 5 in the game with a run and an RBI on the mound. Gavin Garrell improved to 3-2 on the season with a victory, going 5 2/3, allowing 2 runs, 3 hits, 2 strikeouts, and 3 walks. Joel tells us he'll be down in Bend for tonight's Home Run Derby as well as tomorrow's All-Star Game, so we'll be getting some reports from there here on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. Well, as we take a look at what else happened around the West Coast League, let's open up the Les Schwab scoreboard from Sunday. Yakima Valley pounded out 22 hits in its 12-4 win over Victoria. Pippins were led by Kyle Dean, who went 3 for 5 with 4 RBIs as Yakima Valley salvaged the final game of that weekend series. Port Angeles scored 4 in the first and 3 in the third and held on for an 8-6 win over Kelowna. Matthew Christian hit his 9th homer of the summer for the lefties and was 3 for 4 at the plate with 4 RBIs. Michael Dixon's walk-off single in the bottom of the 9th scored Nick Jovetic, and Corvallis came back to beat Walla Walla 3-2 Sunday. That completed a 3-game weekend sweep by the Knights over the Sweets. Cowlitz, meanwhile, completed a 3-game weekend sweep of Bend with Sunday's 4-3 win. Black Bears are now 18-21 on the season, trying to keep pace with Corvallis and Portland in the Southern Division second-half standings. Kyle Velasquez was 4 for 5 with 5 RBIs to lead Portland to a 12-3 win over Richfield. Pickles improved to 7-1 in the second half of the season. Let's check the standings of the North Division of the West Coast League, with the Apple Sox having kind of a rough weekend. They've dropped back to second place. Victoria now back in first at 9-4. Sox a half game back at 8-4. Yacoba Valley is 7-6. They're 2 games back. Port Angeles sits in fourth place at 6-6. Bellingham 3-8. Kelowna 3-9 on the second half. UC Kikuchi lost yet again for the Mariners on Sunday. Gave up another couple of home runs in a 9-2 defeat to the Los Angeles Angels. Kikuchi gave up 2 home runs. Angels hit 4 on the day. Kikuchi went 5 innings, allowed 7 runs on 9 hits, 3 strikeouts, and a walk. Kikuchi's ERA now up to 5.37 on the season. D. Gordon went 3 for 4 in the bottom of the lineup for Seattle as the Mariners stranded 12 runners on the base paths. Mariners welcome Texas into town tonight for the first of 3 games, with Adrian Sampson going up against former Apple Sox Marco Gonzalez. By the way, congratulations to Edgar Martinez, Gar, inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame over the weekend. Great speech, right to the point. He memorized basically the whole thing. And his preparation for his speech, basically the preparation that he did back when he played, and his approach to the plate, he hit it out of the ballpark. Congratulations, Edgar Martinez, Hall of Famer. Let's see what happened around the rest of the American League West on Sunday as we open up the Les Schwab scoreboard again. Michael Brantley hit 2 home runs, drove in 3 RBIs to lead Houston to a 5-3 win over Texas as the Astros continue their hot play. Max Kepler's walk-off single to score Ari Adrianza completed a 2-run 9th and a win for Minnesota over Oakland, 7-6 the final there. Wild weekend at Wenatchee Valley's Super Oval with some hot temperatures and hot cars. Redmond's Randy Dubois grabbed the checkered flag in the Granite Evergreen Super Sprints main event. Northwest Mini Stock Tour A feature went to Thomas Sanford out of Sammamish. Kamloops, BC's Jim White won the West Coast Vintage Racers main event, and the Economy Midget finale went to Shoreline's Hannah Lindquist. Congratulations, Hannah. Yeah, no, it's not just a boys' world out there at WVSO. So, Hannah, good job for you. WVSO going to take a couple of weeks off. They'll be back at it in the month of August. Speaking of back at it, we're back at it with baseball coming up this Saturday. Wenatchee Apple Sox hosting the Portland Pickles. We'll have that live here on the NCW Live channel. Our third of 4 games will broadcast live this summer. I'll be field side, top of dugout side for your play-by-play. 6:15 with a pregame Saturday right here on your television home for the Apple Sox, the NCW Live channel. Oh, I should mention too, programming note, before we move on here, if you missed Saving Rihanna, the 1-hour news special here with Caitlin Hedersheet, putting that together with Tucker Wagner and Uriah Darby and a cast of thousands. Great program. Tells a very, very just intriguing story about little Rihanna, who fell through the ice in the pond of Rock Island last winter and is doing so well. If you missed the program, we're going to have it back on television this week. It'll be Wednesday at 8, Thursday at 1 in the afternoon, and then Saturday night at 10. You can also, of course, see it on our website on demand, too, at ncwlife.com. But Saving Rihanna, again, mark your calendars this week, Wednesday at 8, Thursday at 1, Saturday at 10 o'clock here on your local TV station, the NCW Life channel. 25 minutes past the hour here on a Monday edition of Wake Up Wenatchee Valley as we look at the obscure holiday of the day today. Summertime. You know, there's nothing better than lying in a hammock. Today is National Hammock Day. Did you know the hammock was originally made out of hammock bark? It's a tree. It was first developed by native inhabitants in Central and South America for sleeping. They wanted to get off the ground and get away from the snakes and bugs and all the nasty stuff. And so they came up with this idea of hanging some bark between trees and weaving it together and laying there and staying away from the snakes and bugs. But they also decided it would be kind of cool or warm to stay warm at night by building a little fire underneath of them. And that the smoke rising from the fire also kind of kept the bugs away. But the problem with that is that the bark caught on fire. You talk about a burning bed. So they decided to use some other material. In fact, they replaced it with sisal fibers, which I'm not sure what a sisal fiber is, but apparently sisal fiber doesn't catch fire like the bark did of the hammock tree. By the way, the National Hammock Day started in 2008 by Bob Matthews. He says, with the summertime, no better time to lay back and recharge your batteries in a hammock. I haven't laid in a hammock in a long time, but there's something about that. I don't know what it does to your spine, but just that laying between the hammock and nice shady spots with a beverage in hand. And, oh, gotta love a hammock. So today's the day to enjoy your hammock if you have one. And also, it says here on National Hammock Day, no mowing the lawn allowed. That's official right here. So no lawn mowing happening on National Hammock Day. This day in history, July 22nd, it was on this date in 1933. American aviator Wiley Post. Now, I don't know why. I've never heard of this guy before. But Wiley Post, on this date in 1933, returned to Floyd Bennett Field in New York, having flown solo around the world in 7 days, 18 hours, and 49 minutes. He was the first aviator to accomplish this feat. Post, instantly recognizable by the patch he wore over one eye, although that picture he doesn't have the patch on, began the journey on July 15th, flying nonstop to Berlin. After a brief rest, he flew on to the Soviet Union, where he made several stops before returning to North America with stops in Alaska, Canada, and finally triumphantly landing at his starting point in New York. Wiley Post finished it on this date in 1933. 1934, Public Enemy #1, John, and I always thought it was Dillinger. I guess according to this newsreel, it's Dillinger. I don't know why I had that wrong, but Dillinger was gunned down by federal agents outside a theater in Chicago on this date in 1933. Let's take a look.
Dillinger brought to Chicago, recaptured after he had escaped from Lima, Ohio. Taken to Crown Point, Indiana, the Lake County Jail to be tried for the murder of a policeman. Desperate Public Enemy now rises to fame as an underworld hero. Arrogance, that expression in his eyes. The welcome accorded to a vicious man-killer. In spite of all this guard, he escaped once more using the sheriff's car. By driving this stolen car across the Indiana state line to Chicago, he violated a federal law for the first time, and that put the G-men on his trail. This led to the raid of Little Bohemia. The Dillinger mob hid away in this Wisconsin resort. These dogs gave the alarm when the federal agents closed in at night. A gun battle, and Special Agent W. Carter Baum was shot and killed by the thrice paroled Babyface Nelson. John Hamilton, Dillinger aide, wounded. He later died. And that set the wheels of justice grinding with a vengeance. 500,000 of these wanted notices went far and wide. They got him outside this motion picture theater. Wild excitement. Dillinger killed by federal agents commanded by Inspector Samuel Cowley, assisted by East Chicago, Indiana police. The belongings of Public Enemy #1. 3 men couldn't carry Dillinger's collection of deadly weapons seized at various places.
Happened on this date in 1934. Also on this date in 2003, former Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein's sons Qusay and Uday Hussein were killed after a 3-hour firefight with U.S. forces in the northern Iraqi city of Mosul. Widely believed that the two men were even more cruel and ruthless than their notorious father. All right, so enough of the bad news on this day. Let's take a look at celebrity birthdays today. Happy birthday to Selena Gomez, Justin Bieber's girlfriend, well, off and on again. Became famous with the Disney Channel's Wizards of Waverly Place, 2015. She was diagnosed with lupus. I didn't know that. Had kidney transplant surgery in 2017. Happy 26th birthday today to Selena Gomez. Also celebrating a birthday today, Alan Menken, Disney composer for scores such as The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Pocahontas. He won 2 Academy Awards. Alan Menken is 70 today. Happy birthday. And also happy birthday to a man who visited the Wenatchee Valley. This is back in the day when we had celebrities as our Grand Marshals for the Apple Blossom Parade, Danny Glover, according to everybody who met him when he was here, said nicest guy in the history of guys. Danny Glover, of course, famous actor opposite Mel Gibson in the Lethal Weapon series. He was nominated for an Academy Award in The Color Purple and Witness. Danny Glover celebrating his 73rd birthday today. And happy birthday to you if it's your birthday, or happy anniversary. If you have a birthday or anniversary to share with us, all you have to do is let us know about it, and we'll pass it along on the air here on Wake Up with Angie Valley. You can do so at news@ncwlife.com, or you can just get a hold of us directly, pass us a message through our Facebook page, and we'll get it on the air for you. I'll be filling in for Dan all week long, so plenty of time to get those anniversaries and birthdays here mentioned on Wake Up with Angie Valley. Speaking of the program, coming up next, Mike Magnotti with his opinion, talking about the difficulties in arresting people. Talk more about that with Mike coming up. Also, we'll have an interview that Dan was able to record before he went on vacation last week, with the folks who are in favor of Proposition 1. That's the Link Transit Improvement Levy. And we'll have Russ Speidel and Mary Ellen LaMond in with Dan to wrap up the program this morning here on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley, as we are 31 minutes past the hour. Still to come on the day today. We are looking at your latest local news with Grant Olson coming up at 5, 6, and 10 tonight. And again, just a programming note, we'll have baseball coming your way on Saturday. Live baseball. Apple Sox take on the Portland Pickles. We were just talking about that in the newsroom here a little bit ago. The Pickles, yes, and I'll tell you more about the whole mascot thing as we get to Saturday. 6:15 with our pregame, 6:35 first pitch, Pickles and Apple Sox here on your television home for the Apple Sox on the NCW Life channel. And again, as a programming note as well, if you missed the program Saving Rihanna, we'll have that for you about 3 times this week. In fact, exactly 3 times this week. It'll be Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, Thursday afternoon at 1, and then Saturday night following baseball at 10 o'clock, our 1-hour news special, Saving Rihanna, here on the NCW Life channel. Did the earth just move? Felt like it just moved there for a second. Again, that's going to come your way here this week. It's also available on demand on our website at ncwlife.com. As we're overlooking the Monument Valley again here this morning on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. Seems like we've done this all over before, again. Well, that's okay. We'll take a break. Come back. Mike Magnotti coming up next. Thanks for watching us here on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley for a Monday, July 22nd, 2019. In for Dan Kuntz, I'm Eric Granstrom, and I really appreciate you being here.
Hey folks, Carrie from Blueberry Hills in Manson, where we've got huge news. We've started our Blueberry U-Pick. It's a great time to toss the family in the car and get on out to Blueberry Hills, where you can get the best down-home scratch country cooking around and pick some of the world's most delicious and largest blueberries that have been high desert farmed. This makes for an intense blueberry flavor, and they are so much fun to pick. Our fields are open 8 to 2:30 daily and restaurant from 8 to 3, so come on out and join us.
They may not be from you, but they're a part of your family. For many reasons, not all children are being raised by their parents. Are you a family member who has stepped in to help raise grandchildren, nieces, or nephews? Whether court-ordered or not, Aging and Adult Care may be able to assist you with many needs. Kinship Care helps keep family and community ties together. Learn more about Kinship Care by contacting Aging and Adult Care of Central Washington, working together for a better quality of life for all.
Is search engine optimization right for my business? Maybe. Studies show the first and second search results get 50% of all the clicks. But you have to fight national chains to get there. If the user has to scroll down to find you, tough luck. You could hide a dead body on page 2 and the whole zombie apocalypse on page 3. Or you could spend less and get an ad in the Impact Big Print phone book, giving local businesses a chance to shine.
Impact Directories. Bigger print, better book. I'm Tom from Alpine Air Heating and Cooling. At Alpine Air, we think of ourselves as customer service-oriented retailers. When you make an appointment, please visit our store, meet our people, see our shop. We are serious about heating and air conditioning. Carrier and Alpine Air are offering huge factory rebates and financing options for all your needs. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Alpine Air. Call for your free replacement estimate. Heat and air, call Alpine Air, 662-6846.
Lake Chelan Mailboxes is a small place with a lot to offer. Job one is shipping and receiving from A to Z. They pack it, they label it, they ship it. But did you know we also offer notary service, online computer access, legal forms, copies, greeting cards, and of course mailboxes, even passport photos. Chelan Mailboxes, everything you need in one small package.
Hey, this is Mike Mad Dog McNally, and everybody's entitled to my opinion. Now, when I was a cop in Wenatchee for 20 years, I have to admit, I'm a junkie for TV shows, was then, am now. TV shows and movies. I have seen every episode of Hill Street Blues, every episode of Law and Order, Blue Bloods, and NYPD Blue. Now, I've watched these things so often that my wife thinks I'm demented. And the one thing I've noticed about all these shows, the one common denominator is that it is incredibly easy to handcuff people on TV. I don't care what the bad guy is doing, fighting, running. As soon as they're tackled or thrown to the ground or pushed against a fence, their hands immediately go behind their back. And then the cuffs are applied effortlessly. It's like a miracle. Too bad it wasn't like that in real life. This is Mike Mad Dog McNally, and that's my opinion.
Moving doesn't have to be back-breaking, stressful work. And I don't want you to make a move that way ever again.
Traditionally, you would rent a truck. You would load up your stuff. You would rent a storage unit. You would transport it. And finally, you would unload your stuff yourself. You don't have to lift a finger. We bring the mobile storage unit to you, we drop it off, then one of our trusted packers can load it for you. We come pick it up and store it securely for you. We bring it back to you. No hassle, no stress.
When you visit Harmony Meadows for tennis or their activity center, you need to drop by the Love All Cafe. Drink in a locally roasted Blue Star espresso or enjoy one of their all-natural smoothies. Show your guests the breathtaking mountains and surrounding orchards while enjoying a delightful and healthy lunch. Love All Cafe features varied noshes as well as microbrews and an excellent selection of wines. The Love All Cafe, located at Harmony Meadows in the Chelan Valley, just outside Manson.
Welcome to Boswell's Home Furnishings. Come in and explore their expansive 2-story showroom at your leisure. You'll find comfort and inspiration for every room in your home. Boswell's has been filling customer furniture needs for decades, from contemporary to the classics, for living room, dining room, and bedroom sets. Purchase in-store or create your own unique style. With Boswell's complimentary design service, your vision is their passion. Where would you like to start?
Welcome back to Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. I am Dan Kuntz. If you haven't gotten this in your mail already, contact your local auditor because you should have it by now. If you live within the profile of what Link does, Link Transit, you will be asked to vote on what they call Proposition 1. It's a tiny, itty-bitty sales tax increase, 0.2%. In my opinion, it's nothing. It's right here. It's on the back of my official ballot, and you have until August 6th to make up your mind. You're here to talk about passing Proposition 1. They're not holding back. They're going to vote yes on it. They're asking you to do it too. To my far left is the chairman of the Vote Yes on Proposition 1 committee, Russ Speidel, local attorney extraordinaire. And to my immediate left is my new friend, Mary Ellen LaMond. Is that right?
Right.
Yes. First of all, welcome to television. Say hi to our television family. Mary Ellen watches this show. You're fairly new to town. Tell the folks, our television family, a little bit about yourself, Mary.
Well, I moved here 3 years ago from Port Huron, Michigan, which is an hour north of Detroit. They had bus service there, which I really used. And I looked into it, I'd say within 2 weeks. And Pete took me on a training mission with Roberto was the driver, and still is. And it just worked out so well for me that I use it almost daily.
You're a resident of Colonial Vista,
Right.
and Roberto takes you where you need to go.
Yes, he does. He's on that Route 8 now, so every once in a while I get to see him. But I will say this about all the drivers. They are the most courteous, most trustworthy folks that I know of, and I have a great story to tell.
I want to hear it.
When I had a friend in from Port Huron, we were going to Leavenworth. And this was during the time that Dominic was doing this interview. And he said, well, could we tag along? He wanted to work with us that day. And I said, certainly. Well, we got on the bus and got there, and Dominic didn't come. And I had really left my purse on the bus. I just got off. So went to services. They held the bus that my purse was on until we caught up at Denny's.
Wow.
And handed it to me. Now, if that isn't worth a story, I don't know what is.
Well, that's service. That's service right there.
Absolutely.
Because they could have just kept on the route and drop it off at Link headquarters and call you up. Hey, Mary, we got your purse.
And I do notice that each time the bus stops, they do go back and check to see if anything's left on, and that's certainly a good thing. But they're so willing to accommodate you wherever you want to go. If they don't know where you should get off, they're going to call the head office and they're going to find out for sure. I've had that happen a time or two, just recently even. But I would say when I was at Garden Terrace, I went to the Y 3 times a week, which involved 3 buses. I got to know, I think, all 70 drivers that were on there. And honestly, they are the greatest. They are. I wouldn't have the life that I have if it was not for Link. And I've tried to promote it throughout. When I lived at Garden Terrace, I did have Pete come out and do a training program, and quite a few got to ride because they don't know that they can take their wheelchairs and their motor chairs and their seeing eye dogs. I mean, it's just wonderful. But this morning on my way out, I stopped and I asked Aaron, our executive director, if it would be possible for them to do it there, and he is so excited. So I'm on my way to see Pete after this to see about
If Proposition 1 passes, and again, I'm not holding back, I want it to pass. I know you two
I
and
do
Russ do
too.
for sure. They're talking about expanding to Sunday service. Is that something that you would take advantage of?
Absolutely, because that's one thing that I asked for when we voted before, was to have a bus, because you hear so many people say, I can't get to church because there's no bus service. And also, it's a long weekend. If you can't go out for the hour, I would like to see it every half hour on Saturday also. Because if I just wanted to go to Safeway or something, it means I'm down there in 2 minutes from Colonial Vista, and then I get what I want, but I have to wait for the hour to come back. So that in itself would be a big improvement.
And some holidays, MLK Day, Veterans Day, President, they're talking about doing some of those as well, which again,
that would
people
be great.
People need places to go regardless of the day of the week, don't they?
Or if they just wanted to go to the park for that day, it would be really great to get them out. But I can't say enough about the service. I really cannot. And I do take advantage of it.
Good for you. Russ is not a stranger to the people here in North Central Washington, very well-known local attorney. You are chairing the Vote Yes on Proposition 1. Who approached who? How did you get the gig to get this baby passed on August 6th? How did this all develop?
Well, let me get to that in just a second,
Sure,
but I'd like to compliment what Mary Ellen has just said, and that is the manager of Link, Mr. Durock, he and his board have a philosophy of the people riding the bus are guests. They're not just customers.
That's right.
They're guests. And I think that the testimony of Mary Ellen really speaks to that. that you've been treated as a guest.
Oh, absolutely.
A very special guest, it sounds like. And then I'd also like to say that Mary Ellen has pointed up what a wealth of support we have among our senior citizens. But Link does service to senior citizens and much more. We have about 1 million or more boarders a year now. Over half of those people are going to and from work. About a quarter of those people are going to school. And so I see this proposal as an investment in our community, because as we expand the service of Link, we run our buses now. I say we, I'm not an employee, I'm a volunteer.
Right.
But as you've pointed out, Dan, I'm chairing this campaign. We have a schedule which is essentially 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. If this passes, we'll start at 4:30 a.m. and go to 11:30 p.m. Now, what does that do? It helps the people who work in hotels, restaurants, in agriculture, especially when we go to Sunday and holiday. If you're working in a shed or in an orchard, you need 7-day-a-week access. And so this, to me, is an economic investment in our communities. And I think when we raise the tide, all boats go up. So to me, it's an economic investment. Yes, it is a 0.2% proposed increase in the sales tax, but it's so much more than that. And Mary Ellen has given testimony to a very important component of it. But there's more than seniors, aren't there, Mary Ellen? There's more than seniors riding these buses.
I have another story to tell.
Okay, but let me first, before you tell your story, I do need to answer Dan's question.
I'm just curious about how you got this job.
Dan asked, well, how did I become involved? I'm a board member of the Wenatchee Downtown Association. And Mr. Durock came to speak with our board in February, I think it was. And he explained what Link has done historically, since this began with a citizens initiative in 1989, when our local citizens asked our county commissioners to put it up to a vote. And the people voted to have this transit system. So Mr. Durock came and gave us not only a history of Link, but what we could do if we want to expand Link. And the public has already said, yes, we want this expansion and we're willing to pay for it. And so I listened to Mr. Durock, and then I met with him again because I wanted some more information from him. So we met privately. And then at some point, he and I both had, I became interested as a citizen in wanting to see this pass. And Mr. Durock, I think, became interested in having someone, be involved as a citizen volunteer. And so I said, yes, I'll do this. I don't know if that answers your question,
It
but this
answers
is
my
my
question
best answer.
perfectly. It
So
did.
it really grew organically, I might say.
Mary, you were going to tell us, I like stories, so
Okay, I'm not
give me
going
another
to
one.
involve any names, okay?
Okay.
But this one person at Colonial Vista knew that this person couldn't write or read. And she took him down to the service department. They took him on a tour, and today I meet him all over the place on the bus. He just gets on at Colonial Vista and goes where he wants, and he's always returning home, and he himself has another life altogether. I wouldn't have the life I had if it wasn't for Link. I wouldn't.
What are you telling your friends at Colonial Vista? Are they all on board? Is there?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think they will be, because they keep saying to me, how do you do this? I'm afraid that I might get lost. And I said, you'll never get lost. The drivers will always take care of you. And one fellow that doesn't really remember where he's going, he doesn't always get to his room, they would take care of him if he wanted to go. But I say, well, if you want to, just take a bus ride out to Cheyenne, just for an outing, or go to Leavenworth. Of course, if you go to Leavenworth, you got to go to the walkabout.
That's okay. The Walkabout are fine sponsors of this program.
I know they are.
Thank you, Sean Smith. You came to the Valley 3 years ago. What do you think of our little hamlet here? You like it?
I love it.
Yeah?
I lived 30 years in Arizona, so I love the heat and the mountains.
Okay, that's fantastic. A little side story, and you'll like both of this. You talked about how it's not just for seniors or students or anything like that. I had Melissa on, who's the HR director of Crunch Pack out there in Cashmere. She was on my show last week, and we were talking about a different subject, but I went off I went off subject a little bit to talk about Proposition 1, and she couldn't speak as an official spokesperson for Crunchback. Obviously, she could not do that. But she said from a personal standpoint, and she's the HR director, she knows all about this stuff. She goes, Link Transit is absolutely indispensable to the economic health of Crunchback. So many of their workers take the bus, they buy the passes for them so it doesn't cost them any money, and they use Link. The vast majority of the people who work at Crunchback in Kashmir use Link to get to work and get back. And if they expand the services around the swing shifts, it's gold for them. So obviously, Melissa is going to be voting yes on Proposition 1. This isn't very much. It's 0.2%. We can't stress that enough, can we?
Well, it's 2 cents on a $10 taxable purchase.
Which is nothing.
Yeah.
Really? As the crow flies, it's nothing. You were going to say, Russ.
Well, Dan, you're pointing up Crunchback, which is a great example, but Link is being very proactive. Another example is the employees at the hospital. Link with the hospital did a survey of where do most of the employees at the hospital live. Turns out they live in East Wenatchee. And so if this measure passes, one of our intentions on Link's part is to have direct transport from East Wenatchee to the hospital.
Which right now isn't available. I think Richard told me a couple weeks ago, it's like 3 transfers, and it's like over an hour to get from the main stops in East Wenatchee to the Confluence Health.
Yes, and then we're actually trying to be proactive now as much as we can with the limited dollars that we do have. One of the things we're doing this summer, Link, in Chelan, we're going to try to have park and ride, essentially, using the high school parking lot, and then take people between Lakeside and Don Morse Park, where it's almost impossible, well, it is impossible, to find a parking space. People have been parking dangerously on the highway, just west of Lakeside, for example, and then walking up the highway to Lakeside. So Link is being proactive in Chelan, also being proactive in Leavenworth. We have the new facility behind Safeway in Leavenworth, where Link now will hopefully not get trapped in traffic, but can keep transporting people. So we're doing what we can to be proactive, but with the passage of this proposition, we'll be able to do so much more.
And it should be pointed out that this is going to be implemented in steps, not only the improvements that they're talking about, but the actual tax itself isn't going to be one, here it is. It's going to be prorated in. Explain that, please.
And that was Richard Durock's idea.
Right.
He's saying essentially, look, it's great if we pass this tax, but it takes me a while to order and pay for some of these buses. I can't spend all this money right away. So the first half of the new tax would go into effect this coming January, and then the second 0.1% the next January. And so we'd phase it in because we wouldn't be able to use all the money right away.
Right. That's very important. Mary,
It is.
I've enjoyed talking with you. I'm going to give you the last word. Look right into that lens, right over there, Mary, over there by Richard, and just sell Proposition 1. Give it, lay it on thick, Mary.
Well, honestly, I don't even have to fake it, because I cannot tell you how important this really, really is. I just ask everybody, please vote yes on this proposition. I know many of you are economically stressed, but for the rest of us in the valley, it's going to be such an achievement. I just can't tell you how much you have to say yes, please.
How can you say no to this woman? Again, you have to make up your mind by August 6th. It is called Proposition 1. A simple majority is all it takes to pass. And thank you for pointing out that this is just not when I had Richard Dominic on a couple weeks ago, we talked a lot about how it works around the Wenatchee Valley, but you brought up the important part of the folks in Leavenworth and the Chelan and the Upper Valley. Everybody is a winner here if this thing passes.
Yeah, Waterville, East Wenatchee.
Absolutely, absolutely. People need to come to the Wenatchee Valley to conduct a great deal of their business, be it doctor's appointments or what have you, and they got to be able to get here and they got to be able to get back home. They might be able to to provide their own transportation, and Link does that for them.
And Dan, because it is a sales tax, the tourists help pay this.
Yeah.
And our government agencies help pay it. So we residents, it doesn't fall all on us. But thank you very much for your time today.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Russ, it's good to see you again. I got a great story about your mom when we get off the air, by the way. You're going to like it. Mary Ellen, we'll get this television thing straightened out for you, all right?
Thank you.
I'll look into
I
it.
hope so.
Yes, I will
Thank
look
you.
into it. I I got friends in high places. It's not who you know, Mary. It's who I know. That's the important thing. You're watching Wake Up in Wenatchee Valley. We'll be right back.